Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. So welcome to exploring major shifts in technology to better enable a virtual workforce. I appreciate you taking your time today to join us, and I promise to provide you value, and hopefully you'll come away with some new information that you'll be able to bring back to your organization and help make some changes and improve your operations. Let me go ahead and start by introducing myself. I'm Randy Hyshiver. I'm the IT director at Echo Technology Solutions and been there for about 6 years. I've been in the industry for my whole career and have been working with many different areas of information technologies, data integration, business intelligence, EDI, e-commerce, web development, and in this last 6 years, I've been working at Echo, which is a full-service IT consulting firm, sometimes referred to as a managed service provider. We provide all the different outsourcing solutions that you would expect from an IT department, help desk, network operations support, professional services for project work, on-site visits, etc. And Echo also has a Salesforce division that provides development of the Salesforce platform. So I'll be providing an email address at the end. So if you have any interest in that, you can ping us and I'll connect you with the right person. With that, I'd like to go over what the agenda will be for this conversation, and we'll start with looking at what is the new norm that we're all operating in that really will require us being more attentive to the virtual environments. Once we do that, we'll start looking at the challenges that we're faced with on a daily basis and how that is, changing our approaches and what needs to be considered in that. I'll take a look at how to secure the cloud since everybody has moved mostly to the cloud these days, and with the virtual workforce, that's becoming even more important, and we want to make sure that we're secure and we've got the virtual perimeter protected, and that things have changed a lot since we've moved from the office, so it's important to really understand what that's about and what technologies are on the in the market now to help support that. We'll also take a look at the distributed workforce productivity and how we can improve on collaboration and the tools that are available to help improve that. With all the workstations now no longer being managed in the office, they're all remote. We need to look at how to better deploy workstations and support them. And then finally, we want to make sure that everybody has got some good understanding of how to keep connectivity reliable and secure and optimized, as we now all have our internets operational from our homes and no longer are able to use the office internet fiber that is typically very large bandwidths and optimally deployed, and with some of the home challenges, we'll take a look at that. And then I'll open up the questions and give you an opportunity to ask, and we'll provide you some contact information at the end. So if you want to get a hold of us. Let's explore a little bit around what's the new norm. We're all working from home. Most of us are over the last year, and maybe it'll stay that way for most of us. So that home operation is going to be key to our business practice going forward. With that home, work schedules have changed. I get up early. I start working much early. It's not a 9 to 5 anymore. So we're really starting to look at being in different places, anywhere, at any time, 24/7 operation. It's changing the way we work, and it's changing the way we collaborate, and it's needing different attention to how we support each other. We've got a lot more need for using our mobile devices. It's always been bring your own device, but now it's becoming more key to the operation. The tablets, the laptops, everything is mobile these days. There's a lot more involvement with the social media. So we're doing a lot more sharing, a lot more research, a lot more data is being passed around. We're spending more time in the social media environments. Like I said earlier, we've got a lot more cloud applications involved in our mix, and we have to be more aware of how to best utilize that, how to share that, how to protect that, and continue to expand on that. Now that we're all working from home, most of us are probably using consumer grade ISPs, the Comcast, the AT&Ts, these shared circuits. They might be fast bandwidths that we bought, but they're not dedicated. They're not as guaranteed as we have in the offices, and we're sharing it with a lot of the community. So we have spikes during peak parts of the day when we have more entertainment going on with the family. And again, we have the home infrastructure. We've got the home networks, we've got the home printers, the home computers, we've got all the Internet of Things, all the smart devices, et cetera. So the new norm is kind of shaking it up a bit, and it's something to be aware of as we go forward, and we'll continue to look at that through the rest of this presentation. What are the challenges that has brought to the game? You know, where are we seeing some of the things that are starting to you know, impact us? Definitely cybersecurity. So we're seeing a lot more threats. There's a lot more exploits going on. There's a lot more vulnerability, a lot more surface area that's not being protected. A lot more policies are not being enforced. A lot more practices are not being followed. So there's a lot more exposure to organizations. And we've been spending years and a lot of money over the past decades in getting our offices solid, kind of, you know, secure with a firewall and policies and all the things that you can do when you have control. And now we're back out into this kind of wild, wild west space. The home infrastructure, I mean, how does it get supported? You know, your folks are used to calling the service desk and having them fix the computer. But when the network goes down, the printer doesn't work, all these home devices that the company doesn't even own, and the hours that the teams are working, what are you doing for that? And what is the changes that need to be applied? How are you supporting your devices? How are you managing these workstations? How are you making sure they're patched? How do you make sure that they're enforcing policies? How do you deploy software? You know, how do you know that the device, you know, is even, where that it's running certain things on it, that it's running antivirus? You know, and if your device is lost or stolen, how do you lock it down? So there's a lot of things that are now exposed and out of control. So we want to look at that. The disaster recovery, that's been an important piece for a lot of companies over the years, where they've built these DRP initiatives. They have the plans all sorted out. They've run fire drills. They've got it all built to be able to bring the company back up. But now that we've moved out into this virtual environment, have we updated our policies and procedures and our plans? Have we tested them? Do we have the call trees in play? Do we know how to get people up and running quickly? So it's something to, you know, to start looking at again, and looking at how technology could help us there. How are the policies being managed? We have, you know, HR policies, but now we have this remote workforce. Do we have remote workforce policies? Do we have security policies that are, you know, adjusted to this change? And then the budgets, the finances, have the finances been reallocating the funds to be able to support these environments? You know, it might take some, you know, year of readjusting our budgets because money's already been allocated and spent in other ways. So we got to look at that. So with the challenges and the norm, I'd like to ask you a question. What is impacting your organization most? Out of the things that we've mentioned here, I've got some multiple choices for you to answer. So let me go ahead and put that poll up for you. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment here and select which one would be the most impactful to you. Security, the home infrastructure support, you know, onboarding and offboarding your employees, collaboration tools. So I'll give you 30 seconds or so to answer that. Go a couple more seconds. Anybody else want to answer? Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. So it looks like, you know, supporting the home infrastructure is getting the 100%. So let me go ahead and stop that and we'll move on. Thank you for answering. So let's take a look at what are the technologies that are trending right now that are supporting the, you know, the security of our virtual workforce and the environment that we're working in now. as we've done in the last, like I said, in the last decade plus, we've been building a perimeter around our office, and our wide area network might be multiple offices. So that's been very secure once you walk through the access key of the office and you're using the resources in there. But now that you're working from home and you're connecting to a cloud app, or you're sharing credentials, or you're not using multi-factor authentication, you're just connecting to these apps, it definitely exposes organizations' assets, data, and reputation, everything that goes along with a possible breach. So you want to be more cognizant of that. And some of the products that are trending right now would be the single sign-on platform, which a lot of folks have been talking about for a couple of years now, but they're definitely seeing that as a important piece to the mix at this point. So you have products like Okta and Microsoft and some of the others that that I think there's one login, and then there's some email, there's some password tools that are out there that are more password repositories. But single sign-on is very useful because it brings a single pane of glass to all your apps. It allows for you to use complex passwords so you don't have to remember them and write them down on a Post-it. It allows for you to not have to share your credentials. It allows you to use unique credentials for each app. And it really starts to allow for the integration of your processes from the hiring to the firing process of bringing new people on, adding them to your systems, and then provisioning the licenses automatically with these tools, and then deprovisioning when they are leaving. So it really handles a very important security layer of the onboarding and offboarding of your employees. It also provides you with a robust platform that allows for you to protect yourself and protect your applications from being accessed by those that you don't want to have access to it. With adding multi-factor authentication to it, you add that two-factor level and you really start securing it down. And then in addition, you could even secure it by a device being permissioned. So it would require a particular device being enrolled, a credential, and a multi-factor. So single sign-on platforms are definitely going to help with this virtual workforce. Another technology that's trending that has been becoming very popular over the last couple of years and really starting to get a lot of traction right now is the SASE platform. So these are secured access service edges. So it's bringing software technology to the edge to be able to create these virtual perimeters as if you were in a virtual private cloud operating your business, and everything that's operating within that cloud, moving between your workstation and the cloud applications, are protected by these platforms so that you can use a VPN or a virtual private network technology to create a private tunnel between you and your browsing or your application and your destination, where you're browsing, or to an application. Different than when you would used to go to an office through a VPN and access the resources in your office. This really starts to let you be protected while you're going off from your home directly out to the cloud apps. In addition, with the software-defined perimeter, these technologies are allowing you to establish rules so that you can define what is allowed inside this perimeter. So that it could be based on devices, it could be based on roles, it could be based on groups. So you get a lot more capabilities of controlling the traffic and the access points. And it really kind of speaks to what people have been talking about recently, this zero trust. You trust nothing and you validate everything. So that's important when you're in the cloud operating. The credentials and devices and multi-factor authentication is always at play, and you're having that happen with these tools so that you don't have to do it yourself once you're in. Firewall has been always important at the perimeter of the office. So now with the perimeter of the virtual environment, you can implement firewall as a service. So these SASE platforms will offer those solutions so the inbound and outbound traffic can be protected from intrusion detections. There's port protection. So you can really start to lock down the kind of traffic that's flowing through your source and your destination. And that would be important. And if you're in compliance requirements, or you have HIPAA requirements or SEC regulatory requirements, there's going to be a lot more rigor needed around protecting your workforce. DLP is an important piece when you want to make sure that your data doesn't go external. So intellectual property, social security numbers, credit cards, something that a compliance officer would ensure through the audits maybe that you're protecting your data, that your file servers are keeping the data within your organization, and you can either block them with these rules so that they can't be sent externally, or you can notify key authorities that the data has been sent so that you can address it accordingly. A SIM is important when you want to make sure that you've got even another level of robust protection, and using technology's advancement in this technology with artificial intelligence and machine learning to watch for patterns in the log files that are generated from all these systems. And there is tons of log files that are being generated, and it's always been very costly and a lot of manpower to look at logs. So it's always been left off the table, but SIM is becoming a lot easier to be implemented, and the cost is starting to become more prohibitive, more capable, available for people to afford it. In addition to technology, when it comes to automation, it's important that you protect your assets from the human factor. One of the weakest links is humans that have become complacent and lazy and not paying attention to some of the red flags that are flying around from possibly emails that have bad links in them, emails that have impersonation email addresses that want wire transfers, emails that maybe have attachments that you don't know who they're coming from. So it's important that you train your staff regularly. And it's sometimes just the practice of being in the training again that kind of brings them back and wakes them up and keeps them alert. So you want to do it regularly. Maybe it's quarterly, every half a year, or once a year. You have to figure out what the cadence is. And a lot of the tools that are on the market now that are making this much easier can send your employees courses on a scheduled basis, and you can monitor their progress. You also want to use these tools that are coming out now. There's the Mimecast, there's the WebRoot, there's a couple other products on the market that are starting to use, they have phishing campaigns built into them, so you can test your staff. You can do a simulation of a phishing attack and check your staff and see how vulnerable they are and address the weakest links accordingly. In addition to that, if you don't feel that that's enough, you could add an email threat protection layer on top of it, so that you can subscribe to a gateway, kind of like Mimecast is one of those services, where all your emails will traffic through their technology, and their technology will monitor for any malicious URLs that have been blacklisted, that are known to be bad. They will detonate attachments in their sandboxes to make sure they're not bad, and they will watch for impersonations. And there's a lot more that they offer, and that would add that added protection, and I would highly recommend that. And ransomware is definitely on the rise. And if you're not doing good backups and you don't know the backups that are being used by your cloud providers, I would urge you to talk to them, find out if they meet your criteria, that the retentions are satisfied for your needs, and sometimes you need to add more backup services on top of those. So because of the virtual workforce being more remote and being more on their own, there's a lot more vulnerabilities in this regard. And when it comes to the phishing attacks, and they just don't have the person next to them tapping them on the shoulder saying, watch out, I just got that. Next, for a distributed workforce, it's important that you're collaborating effectively, that you're messaging efficiently, your voice messaging and your phone system is distributable. You're portable. You're able to go wherever you need to. Your phones don't have to be physical. They can be soft, running on desktops, laptops, or phones. So UCaaS has been very popular over the last couple of years. So you want to look at what is your UCaaS solution at your organization, your unified communication as a service platform that's providing all the bells and whistles that are needed to create that fluid, collaborative environment for messaging, file transfers, faxing, call center, queuing, you name it, webinars, conference calls, et cetera. And a lot of folks are using Slack, or they're using Zoom, and maybe they have a VoIP system. And you can, if you haven't done any of that or included that in your company, then you might want to look at one-stop shop solutions like RingCentral, for instance, has a one-stop shop. And I know Microsoft is trying to get on the bandwagon to get their voice system to catch up with some of these other platforms. As far as workstation deployments, this technology is really taking off big time, and it's attempting to catch up with the need. But mobile device management is critical to a virtual workforce. It's going to save a lot of time. It's going to ensure that your policies are enforced. It's going to provide quick ways of recovery. It's going to give you the ability to get your folks up and running quickly when you have a new deployment. A zero-touch deployment is almost like the way to start these days if you're new, and a lot of companies are still doing it manually. But you can get a computer purchased from a vendor, distributor, have it mailed to your employee. Your employee logs into that computer the first time, and all of a sudden all your apps that your company uses starts installing, and you completely come up on board almost in a seamless zero-touch approach. So that is the ultimate vision, and you can get there. You just have to work with your IT team to move yourself to that state. And then all of a sudden you'll see the efficiencies. You'll see a lot of reasons that it'll make sense. A machine goes corrupt, you're going to have to build them another machine. This way you can just rebuild them on a click of a button. And then, patching and deploying new applications are important, and keeping people secure. You've got to get those security patches out. So that's also important. And, again, password policies, making sure machines are running antivirus, making sure they are getting patched, and that they have certain aspects of your requirements for your workstations, maybe some spec requirements, aging, et cetera. You're going to have a lot of capability, and a lot of the MDMs will let you lock down the machines, install encryption on the hard drives, et cetera. So a very important piece to a virtual workforce. And then, we're seeing a lot of requests for ISP and upgrades, a lot of connectivity issues that are playing out with the virtual workforce. We're seeing companies that have very important personnel that have very important service level agreements, and they can't afford to be down. So they're getting second circuits in. So one of the things you want to look at is SD-WAN, a software-defined wire area network. That will take the technology of what you're doing with your internet provider with software to the next level. It'll provide better quality of service. It'll provide better prioritization of what apps are being given higher priority, a Netflix video that your son's watching, or a video conference you're doing with a Zoom business call. So you'll start to be able to do that. You'll also, with SD-WAN, you could aggregate your two circuits. So if you have your one Comcast circuit, you can bring in you can even bring in your cell plan as your backup circuit. But with SD-WAN, you can bring both of them in as an aggregated circuit, as if it's one circuit. And if one starts flopping or having a problem, the other one just takes over and doesn't care. So if this one flops, this one can. If this one fails, this one takes over. So you start to create this very robust, high availability with your ISP technology using SD-WAN. Definitely something to seriously consider for, at least for the most important personnel that are doing call centers, support. They've got to be on call, on duty, and not be down. And I know they have their hotspots with their phones, but again, when you're in a conference call, you don't want to be interrupted during that call. So take a look at that. And again, anything that we've been talking about, you can definitely send me an email if you don't have a question while we go to the QA. But I'd like to ask a question now that I've gone over about 4 or 5 or 6 different technologies. What's most important? What technology for your organization is most important? So let me go ahead and send you that question. So what's most important? Enforcing the security policies, having a reliable internet connection, improving on your disaster recovery and business continuity plans, or improving your productivity and workforce collaboration? go ahead and give you about 15 seconds to get that done. Great. So thank you for answering that. Let me go ahead and end that. Let me share the results. So it looks like productivity is important. I mean, that's typically, you know, an important piece. That was, I think, one of the biggest concerns when people left the office is how do you ensure the productivity and provide the tools to allow for that. And we've learned a lot over the last year, you know, and I think when there's more breaches and more security holes and more issues with security, the investment maybe start moving over to some of the security platform solutions, which typically is what it takes. I mean, I hate that that's the case, but it takes a little pain sometimes to move forward with some of these new investments. So let me go ahead and stop sharing that. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions you may have. I do have an free offer out here for a security assessment, 30-minute security assessment, and we'll provide you with a findings report from that interview. Please go ahead and get in contact with us at sales@echots.com. You can use that for anything at this point. If you want to get a hold of me and ask me, excuse me, a specific question that you hadn't gotten to on this call, if you want the free assessment or you like to, you know, just make any comments to us, that's a good way of getting hold of us. I've got all the other information here with our office and where you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So if there are any questions, go ahead and post those and I'll see if I could answer them for you. And I can see some of you are asking directly of me, not to the group. So the first question is, you know, what is a good SASE platform to consider? There's 3 of them that I've been, you know, looking at that I'm very happy with and that we're implementing with some of our clients. We like Netscope. That's SKOPE, Netscope. We have clients that are using Perimeter 81. And we have some clients that are using Zscaler. So there are a few more that are coming on the market. It's getting a lot of buzz. It'll definitely start to consolidate a lot of the different tool sets into a platform offering. And it really will help, you know, a lot when it comes to ensuring you've got the eyes and ears on your environment and you're putting the right level of protection around your virtual environment and be able to sleep at night and not be worried about your assets being stolen or attacked or locked down by a ransomware attack. So I know it's a little bit earlier than we scheduled, but that's fine. I'll give you guys another minute and then we'll go ahead and end the call. I wanted to let you know I appreciate you spending the time with me and hopefully you come away with some new information that will help you improve on your virtual workforce, both from a security standpoint, from a performance standpoint, and from an overall company growth standpoint. So I appreciate it. You all take care, you stay safe and healthy, and look forward to having opportunities to spend some more time with you. Just go ahead and send us an email at sales@echots.com. Thank you and take care.